Hi guys, this is Niki Rowland for Bramble Fox, and today I'm making a layout using the really lovely May Fox box. So I'm using all the circle elements in this kit today, and now you can see why, because I've gone for this cut file that's called Our Bubble, and it was a freebie by Virginia Walker over on Confessions of a Paper Addict. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh, perfect, I can use that brilliantly with all of those circular elements, because I do feel that the circles, I wanted the circles with the bubbles. Did that make sense? Okay, so I have cut the cut file from white cardstock. I've shrunk it a little bit so it's not massive, it doesn't fill up the entire 12 by 12, and because they're bubbles I wanted to back them with something, so I've gone for vellum. Now I did cut the vellum pieces on my silhouette too. In theory they should have been exactly the right size, but they weren't quite. I think it's more about the fact that it was hard to line up. The cut file is really delicate, so therefore lining them up was a little bit tricky. It's extremely thin, the edges of the bubbles, so even at this size. So I've had to go around and trim some off, and there are some bits that are really not actually attached very well. I've just put on a tiny bit of double-sided tape, enough to keep my vellum in place, and I'm going to go around and sew on the sewing machine around the outside of each one. Now my sewing isn't amazing. I would say that I go wonky quite regularly, but hey, you know, I don't really care. Yeah, I'm just gonna, in theory that's gonna attach my vellum in place and keep it down, but in reality, because the cut file was really skinny, there are some places that are not attached properly, but it works. It definitely works and looks good. It was definitely worth the effort going around the circles, so I've gone around the big circles and the little circles as well. I haven't gone around the alphas. Okay, so I am now going to spend some time backfilling the two words, ow and bubble. Now I'm going to do this by hand. I could have done this on the silhouette, but at the time that I was cutting my cut file, I didn't know what colour I wanted to backfill with, and at this point I was so far into doing the scrapbooking itself that I thought, oh, do you know what, by the time I've messed around doing it on the computer, firing it all up again, turning everything on, going over and cutting it all out, going over, it's like 4 steps, I could have just done it by hand. So that's what I decided to do. And I'm pretty quick at fussy cutting, so and I did them in pieces, so rather than individually cut out each letter, I went round the words as a whole, so it helps that they're backed in all the same colour rather than different letters in different colours. So you'll see that the word bubble is in 2 parts, oh sorry, that's phonics, that's dealing with young children, B-U-B even, but because I have the sewn piece, it goes through the middle of the 2 B's, and B-L-E is another separate piece, so I've cut the 2 out separately, but they are large pieces. So I'm just going to use the just a really fine tip wet glue there, and get those stuck in place. Literally just apply a very tiny amount of PVA glue. It comes out, it's literally the head of a pin. It's so thin, this glue that I use, that it's brilliant for really teeny tiny close work like this, detailed work like this. So yeah, okay, just trimming off the excess of my cut file there, my backed pieces, because whenever I cut anything hand cut, there's normally a small adjustment to be made later on. So that's what I just did there, I just trimmed it down. So the first part of the word bubble is not stuck down, which is great because that means I can attach, I can tuck my photo underneath it, which is ideal for me. I just thought I'd get my bubbles stuck in place. I've just tacked it down with some wet glue, it's not wet glue, tape underneath where the photo is going to be. So I just wanted to, I didn't want the tape to show through the vellum, so it's literally just stuck only in that place underneath the photo, it's not stuck anywhere else. although it's lifting a bit now. I do feel like I should probably tack it down somehow. Maybe I should just add a few stitches through the sewing machine, but we won't worry about that. Okay, so I'm just trying to put an edge on this layout. I have just abandoned my layout for some reason. I don't know what I'm doing. Talking to somebody probably. But I have picked a really bright contrasting paper there. This collection that I'm using is the Dear Lizzy Here and Now collection. Oh good, I'm back. I wonder where I went. So I used the Dear Lizzy Here and Now collection, and I have picked out the yellow for my background, and then this really brightly checkered pattern for the two strips at the top and the bottom. So I'm just going to attach those together there, and then I have this really colourful lovely border at the top and the bottom. Now I could have just cut two pieces of that, two strips of that, and stuck them onto my yellow, but that's generally not how I do things. I normally stick my foreground on top of my background, rather than layer borders on top of the layout, but either way works. I would have wasted a lot less paper if I'd done it that way. So yeah. Okay, so here I am with the bare bones of my layout in place, and now I just need to start layering up everything else. So I've just pulled out a couple of tags. That is from the Dear Lizzy Here and Now ephemera, and now I'm going to layer on my really gorgeous circular perspectives from the May Fox box, and I'm just going to arrange those like they're more bubbles. So the circles just go so well with other circles, don't they? This is just ideal. Oh, that little bit that I've just stuck on there, that is the shine on the bubble, and I do go around and machine stitch that as well, so that it matches the rest of the cut file, but I do that at the end, but I do it. Okay, so my perspectives are open perspectives, and therefore they show the layers through. So if I put the perspective onto the background, I will see the background through the perspective, and I have therefore backed those on pieces of white cardstock. So I just used a circle punch and punched those out, and then they happen to be almost the right size. I had to trim them slightly, but they were nearly the right size. So just cut those from white card and stuck them onto the back of my perspectives. Okay, so just using my photo now, I have mounted it onto a piece of pink paper. I don't know if it's paper, it might be a journaling card. That's quite often what I use. Yeah, it's white on the back, so it's probably a journaling card. I have mounted my photo and distressed the edges. Now I'm going to use those two tags that I pulled out earlier. I've just pierced a hole in them both, although they might have already had holes in them actually, but I'm tying twine through them. So my gold thread that I like to use, I am just literally looping it around a few times, and then securing on the back with some tape. Right, so just getting my photo and those two tags stuck in place, because once they're down, then I can start adding all the other embellishments, which is my favourite part of scrapbooking. So yeah, those tags just weren't quite right, they weren't quite sitting right. But there we go, I've got two great patterns in there now, by the way of those tags, and some gold twine as well. Photos in place, happy with where the perspectives are going. That word bubble, I've just added some foam pads underneath it to give it a bit of dimension, and to keep it stuck, because it wasn't stuck at all, so it kept lifting. And then I can now stick my perspectives down too. So because they've got white card already attached to the back of them, I am just applying double-sided tape to the white card, and that is then going to hold those perspectives in place. Normally I would use quite a lot of wet glossy accents, but on this occasion I didn't need to. But I did stick the perspectives to the white card with glossy accents, so there is glossy accents on there somewhere. Okay, so this photo was taken on Easter Sunday, and we're just out in the garden, the five of us, chilling out, having fun, not doing very much at all really because of lockdown. So this is definitely our bubble, and it was a really lovely sunny day, so we were out in the garden a lot. So this was a bright, happy, sunny layout, perfect for this photo. So I toyed with the idea of adding in some sunglasses, but they didn't really look right. They were too big. So I've stuck for a few bright flowers, and also some ice creams, because we ate lots of chocolate and lots of ice creams on this day. So just adding those bits and pieces in. I have the sticker sheet from this collection, as well as the ephemera, so just adding bits and pieces here and there. I added a frame underneath my photo that says fun and sun. I've just added another flower underneath that flower perspective at the bottom, and just still going through my stash, working out what would work on this layout, what goes really. So say all the really real holiday stuff, like the palm trees, didn't really go. I did flirt with the idea of using a palm tree earlier, but it didn't look right. Flowers and sunglasses, no sunglasses, flowers and ice creams, it is pretty much. Okay, this is a cartwheeling person. So this, or maybe it's some funky yoga move that I don't know of, but my daughter does a lot of cartwheeling in our garden, so this was perfect to use on this layout. Now I can imagine that lots of people will have these left over at the end of using this collection, but because I have a cartwheeling daughter, they can go on my layouts loads. She just better be in the photos. That's what our garden is gymnastics stadium really. So adding a couple more labels now under the photo. One says right now, that's the pink one, and then adding one at the top that says snapshot, and then I'm going to add a green one as well under the word right now, that says today. So I really love the lime green in this collection. It looks really lovely. It's really bright pop against the yellow. So I'm just adding that in there now. Just adding in some puffy stickers now. So I have the little lemonade jar, and then adding in some twiddles of thread to the layout. So underneath the clusters, so under some of the bubbles, and under some of the flowers. I'm using my gold thread that I use all the time. So it's a We Are Memory Keepers gold thread that I really love, and it twiddles really nicely, and behaves itself, so it's not out of control like other thread. So that's why I come back to that one again and again. So just making sure everything is completely stuck down now, so adding some foam pads, and just making sure that everything is where it should be. Adding in some more twiddles as well. I just felt that one above the camera needed some twine there as well. I normally just stick to 2, but I've got 3 lots on this layout. Okay, so I wanted to handwrite my journaling, but there didn't seem to be a great place to put it. I could have gone along the bottom edge, but I decided to go around my circle instead. I thought that would be a bit more interesting and stuck with the circular theme. So it says, just the 5 of us hanging out together at home. This was Easter Sunday with no family round, so a little different to normal. We are muddling through and getting used to it. And then under the other bubble, I've written #new normal. Okay, so I wanted to put in some dramatic drops of black ink. So I've got out my bottle of black Indian ink, and I've just dripped a few of those big droplets on there. I just wicked up the excess, because sometimes where it's so thick it can seep into the rest of the layout, and that's no good. Okay, so I'm pretty much done now. I just wanted to add some more final circular elements in the form of sequins. So I consulted my Spiegel Mums scraps stash, of which I have many, and just pulled out a set that had the yellow, the turquoise and the green in, so really perfect for this layout and colour scheme. So yeah, that is me done once I've stuck them all down. I just use glossy accents and a paper piercing tool to get all of my sequins stuck in place. I just move them out of the way with my paper piercing tool and add some adhesive and then put them back down. Okay, I really am done this time. Thank you so very much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed the layout, and check out the May Fox box, which is available in the store. Okay, thank you so much for watching. That was Niki Rowland for Bramble Fox.